Hey there everybody, thanks for stopping by. I've got kind of a different video for you guys today. It's more informational. You seasoned guys are probably going to turn out, and that's fine, but everybody's new to bait casting at some point, and at some point everybody hears about the stigma, about its difficulty, and that's all hogwash. I'm going to tell you today what you need to know about bait casters, how to set it up, the difference. We're going to demonstrate on my PC Fun Alijox 300. I've only got to take him out once. I've got a video unboxing him. You guys should check it out. Thank you, PC Fun. Thank you, True Wildlife. I really appreciate you guys giving me your support and making videos like this possible. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what a bait caster is. The three types of reels before we get started. Spin cast. There it is. You've got a spinning reel. You've got a bait caster. That's really the only two you need to know for bass fishing at this point. The spin cast stays over there. Get your bluegills, get your crappie, whatever. Your spin cast has a reel where the bell opens and the line is fed off of this bell at the speed and rate that the lure and your momentum carries it. Your bait caster, however, the spool will spin out, the line will come out, but there's no bell coming open, there's no line coming off of it over the top coming out. Now, before you go running into Academy instead of your local shop, the main thing I want you to know is small, large. 150, that's a size 150. It holds like 150 yards of its max line size, right? I think that's roughly what it comes to. This is spool size 300. This holds a whole lot of line. So on my larger baits, my swim baits, glide baits, heavier things that need to go far and need bigger line for bigger fish, you're gonna go with the size 300. It's not just convenience, it's the bearings and the hardware that goes into it. If you mess around and you throw a 2-ounce glide bait on a size 150 reel, you're gonna blow the bearings out pretty fast. It's gonna start sounding very rough and grindy when you sling it, regardless of how much grease and component care you give to it. You need to use the right size. If you're using jigs, standard topwater stuff, nothing crazy, go with the 150. If you're using Alabama rigs, you're using 1.5 ounces and bigger, you really need to be going with like a size 300 because the design of them in nature is designed so that they can handle that without damaging your products. It's not just a selling point or a size point. It's a necessity to have the right one. There's different speeds. This one is a 6.51, I believe. It may be a 6.41. They normally tell you on it somewhere, but it may have worn off. But I'm a 6.41 right there on the handle reel, right? Whereas this one over here is an 8.11. If I turn this handle, that spool goes around 6 times for every full handle crank. If I turn this handle, every full crank, every time this thumb knob ends up back in its original position, this has gone around 8 times. That may not seem like a big difference, but when you're talking covering water and lures and the speed at which you're going, it's a big deal. For topwater, for fast moving reaction baits, you want something faster, something above that 7.4, 7.5 range. You get into, you know, your standard shallow crankbaits, even like Alabama rigs. I don't think you necessarily have to burn those. That's a lot of wintertime stuff for me. If you're doing it in the summer, by all means, burn the hell out of it. 6 to 7 is a great starting range. 8 may be a little bit fast. You'll have to learn to slow down some with it, but it's not ridiculous. It's a good place if you want to do some top water as well. Style you go with, left hand or right hand. This makes such a monumental difference in how you get started. I think you definitely want to figure out what you want to do. If you don't know and you haven't ever touched a bait caster, you can go either way out of the gate. But once you commit, it's very hard to go back. The advantage is accuracy. You can put this guy in a very tight spot very easy. Not that you can't master the spinning reel, but accuracy, control, those are the two big reasons that a lot of people immediately look at the bait caster. You go to the power and handling as well, which is far superior. There's only so much power. These are typically limited on drag, right? Normally you can get about 20 pounds drag, even on like the larger, you know, 2,000 size to 3,000 size, somewhere around that range. That's normally what you're looking for there. But on a bait caster, you know, the one we're gonna primarily use for demo today, my Alijox, he's got a max drag of 33 pounds. This Abu Lee Jordan Garcia's got a max of, I think, 22 pounds. Nobody's gonna be throwing a buzz bait on a 5.11 spinning reel. It's just not something that works. So it's not that it's all great. There are disadvantages, People fear the backlash, and the backlash is typically due to configuration or dumbassery. And what I mean by that is the type of guy who wants to cast is going to cast a couple of different ways. Let me make sure I don't stay on a fire mount. There's a couple right here. Most of your anglers are going to come around to the side and cast. They're going to sidearm over, and it's going to be a gentle motion. You're not trying to hit a baseball out of the park. You're just trying to get some physics and momentum going. You want to glide the lure. There's also the 10-2 cast. That one's fine. Come over the side about 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. But you're not coming down in a chopping motion. When you throw axes behind the head and come down. And when I see people coming over the top of their head with a bait caster, I know what's going to happen. That lure is going to target the water like a tomahawk. It's going to splash, and you're going to end up with this big nasty nest. Improve your casting. That's the number one thing. Not power, momentum, leverage, and leverage physics. When that lure whips around, you want to whip it. If you're skipping, yeah, you got to give it a little extra whip there. But again, you're coming around. You're not going over the top, tomahawk chalking the water. We're not splitting wood, gentlemen. We're fishing. So that's the number one reason people will get backlash is their cast. The other one, in proper brake settings, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about thumbing. Difficulty-wise, it's not much more difficult than a spinning rod. If you can remember to keep your thumb here, and what feather means just lift your thumb some. You'll feel that friction. All you need is a little. You don't want it to stop unless you're in trouble, because your thumb is your brake. If you can ignore this brake and you can master this thumb, your bait casting is going to go to the next level. You're not going to bird's nest. You're not going to backlash every time. You're going to have to learn to keep your thumb and use your thumb more than you rely on the brake, okay? What your drag is it's the amount of force you can put on this line before it starts coming off without stopping. So if I tighten this down insanely, that doesn't come off. That may seem like a good advantage to you because like, why do you want to give up line? I didn't understand this for the longest time. I lost so many fish because if you don't have that drag set so that fish can peel off above your line capacity, what's going to happen is that fish is going to hit that line. That's too loose. He's going to hit that line. And when he hits a breaking point and he's thrashing and then he comes back and he goes the opposite direction, he's going to snap your line off. He's going to do it at the hook. He's going to do it somewhere along the way where there's an abrasion. He's going to get you somewhere at some point, and it's going to be a big one. It's never the small ones. It's the big ones that do it to you. You need to make sure you're setting your drag appropriately. You can do it accurately by weight, but what I do, I grab it and I pull it. When I'm putting force in, I know that's more than the bass has. Some guys have weight scales and ways of doing it that way. I just set it and then I grab it, and when I have to put forth a little bit of my own force, say about, I don't know, 10 pounds worth, I can kind of eyeball that. I'll reel it in, and if I hook a fish and he starts reeling it, I'll pull it down real quick. We got some packages coming there, and that's that. Let's see what I got. I bet this is pissy fun. There's our FedEx guy bringing the heated waders for the UKA event. Centrifugal brakes. It's basically friction. That's all you need to know about it. It's the friction of the spool that's actually causing the stoppage. It's kind of the spool doing its own work. There's some more that goes into it, but that's the gist of it. The spool does the stoppage if you have centrifugal brakes. Not normally what people go for. Most of us like the magnetic brakes. They use magnets to slow down based on the side of it that'll grab the spool and slow it down based on the brake setting you set. And that's what makes it great, is you have the brake setting knob over here. And I'm probably gonna show a different clip than this one because I got this guy kind of muddy fishing and I didn't clean him before today. But the brake just snaps up and down. On any bait caster you get, furthest to the left, counterclockwise to the 0 or the first dot, depending on what it shows, that's going to be your lowest brake setting. When you slide over, every one of these clicks is setting the brake tighter and tighter. When you go to 1, the brake does a little more work. 2, a little more. 5, it's doing about half the job for you as far as the feathering and thumb, but not all the way. 10, yeah, you can just about let your thumb off, and as long as you don't hit a wall or something, it's not going to spool up and bird's nest on you. However, you're not going to cast as far. The more your brake set up, the less casting distance you have, which is critical when you're using big baits. You want to cover water, any bait really. I don't like to go any higher than 4, and if the lure is light enough, I'll even go all the way down to 0. We've talked about the drag, we've talked about the break. This is the tension knob, and what that means, how fast does your lure free fall based on your setting here. If I take this and I pull my lure off this heavy swim bait and I click down on my thumb drag, that's as fast as it's falling where it's at. That's not very fast at all. It needs to go a little faster. It should be like smooth drop. Oh, that's a little better. It may have just been snaggy. I was like, I thought I had it set. So you're gonna see I'm gonna thumb bar it. I'm gonna let it fall. Now that is too loose. You see how that bird's nest on me? I'm gonna pull that out. I could have stopped it, but sometimes you guys need to see. All right, I'm gonna reel this in nice and tight, about 6 inches above the Baitcaster to make sure it's right. And what we're gonna do is take our tension knob all the way down. And now you notice what it's doing? I've gotta even like shake it to get it to move. That's not good. I'm gonna slowly turn it until it starts falling. I'm gonna go all the way back up. I'm gonna let it go. That's better. It's about halfway there. I'm gonna let it out a little bit more. That's perfect. You see what it did? It hit the ground and it stopped. No backlash. That's perfectly set tension. Too tight, it won't fall. Too loose, it falls and you get a bird's nest. This is how you keep from getting major backlash. Break, correct tension, use your thumb, don't overswing it. 4 things. You need the Baitcaster so that you can fish those heavier lures, the versatility, the power it gives you. It's a fantastic tool to have. It looks really cool too, right? Who are we kidding? You look way cooler casting a Baitcaster than a spinning. Yeah, that's the gist of it, guys. I know I didn't go over how to spool it, man. If you don't know how to spool it, leave me a message and I'll let you know. But hopefully you learned what to look for size-wise, how to prevent bird's nest, the different types of speeds, how to set your drag, how to set your break. If it's helpful, like, comment, subscribe. If not, you know, there's a dislike button, or you can just roll on like a cool guy. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good one. It's hot.